Welcome my friends back to Marvel Snap. Today we are here with Sersi, the mysterious sorceress capable of incredible powers of RNG. What are all her abilities? How do they break it down? Who are her friends, her traps, her enemy cards? And then finally at the end of the video, is she a snap or pass? We miss you, Drew Barry. We're going to break down her key ranking. How many keys is she worth? And what decks might she be good in? A 5/7 that does something immediately. A positive here for the card on reveal. Transform your other cards here into random cards that cost one more if able. The if able call out appears to be if you are missing a price point, Death is not going to be able to transform into anything that's more expensive because Death is the most expensive card in the game. Currently a 6-cost card cannot transform into a 7-cost card, but that will soon be fixed at the end of this season. Seems like this slot machine of power is going to be incredibly interesting. I'm drawing a lot of parallels here to Blink, who is one of the best cards in the game, where Blink was giving us a more expensive card from our deck. Sersi is randomly choosing from all available cards, but then able to put a transformation on a number of different cards, all of your cards. Feels also like we're going to be seeing a lot of comparisons to Lady Deathstrike, where Sersi is supercharging our junky cards into better options. Lady Deathstrike was able just to remove absolute trash from our side. So a couple different looks here, and you just have to find the right tool for what your deck really wants. As we move forward and look at our friends, I think that the deck that Sersi is going to most naturally slot into is Junk, a deck that has all of these detrimental cards that it either wants to get rid of, or Sersi can enormously improve, changing a -8 Void into a random 5-cost card. Yes, please sign me up. Hood over into a 2-cost card. Any of these cards that are a negative base power, they still have this cost associated to them, and then being upgraded by Sersi, and then basically guaranteed to be something beneficial for you. Not entirely guaranteed, but basically seems like an amazing power boost. Almost on the level of Annihilus, throwing these cards across. I think Annihilus is still going to be the preferred play if you have both in hand, and the Junk deck is definitely going to continue to run Annihilus, but Sersi now looks like she could be the slot in place of Lady Deathstrike, looking to upgrade your cards rather than just destroy them. Another powerful synergy can be with the suite of energy cheat cards. This is where I'm thinking more of the parallels to Blink, where we saw that Electro into Blink was amazing, with Blink then trading Electro into something from your deck that is more powerful, and here Sersi being able to transform him, getting rid of that negative ongoing effect, and then just giving you a random 4-cost card, which in all cases, if it's Electro, is actually going to be better. Psylocke, of course, with her low base power, you would love to transform her into a random 3-cost, and you can then play her on 3, ramp up into the Sersi very quickly, or if you've been able to play extra small cards, maybe Sersi's hitting a burst of cards here for us, which we would really appreciate. The Wave is probably the weakest call out here because her 3/5 body, you actually don't mind if she just stays around, and she is giving the energy cheat to both you and your opponent. In fact, your opponent could be playing a 6-cost card while you are just playing Sersi, so maybe Wave doesn't fit in here quite as well, but I wanted to call out this entire category, and I think Sersi is going to be amazing in ramp, as we also have, say, Jubilee. That was really good with Sersi, able to have a high-cost, low base power card with an amazing ability that you've already gotten the benefit from. Sersi can then transform that and move forward in powerful ways. Finally, we have powerful friendships with other token generating cards like Mysterio and Debris. These are things that we would love to see happen. A rock transform into a usable 2-cost card, a 2-cost card of 0 power in the Mysterio clone transforming into a random 3-cost card, also fantastic. And the beautiful thing is here that these cards that are transformed, that we end up with after the transformation, will also help discount Mockingbird, which you are surely going to be running in a deck that is using the Mysterio and the Debris here. Now for the trap category. These are cards that I think may initially look like powerful synergies, but I don't think are actually going to pan out in the Brood and the Mr. Sinister. These token generators, because they clog up the lanes and have a whole side suite of synergies that don't work as well with a Sersi deck, I don't think are really going to come up to the forefront. I don't really want to run Sersi in a Patriot deck or a deck that is trying to buff the Brood or Mr. Sinister. roster to make strong use of their clones, and then if I am making use of their clones, I don't necessarily want Sersi to then be transforming them after I have buffed them, so I feel like there's some anti-synergy here. And also, specifically for Brood, we're getting a bunch of 4-cost cards, and yes, there are some really powerful 4-cost cards. There's also a lot of control cards that have strong abilities and low base powers, but activating them in the mid game without a lot of control as to where and when those cards are dropping means we're probably getting no benefit from those abilities, and then the Brood into Sersi just feels a little bit wasted. Like I said, these are cards that feel like they should work, but I think are actually going to be traps. Do not try and run them, at least not initially. Let someone else risk their cubes in the testing. Now we've got the enemy cards of Sersi, and what I'm actually doing here is I'm calling out a lot of cards that you don't want to hit off of the transformations. Of course, Destroyer and Deathlog, oh man, anything with the Destroy synergies that could be coming in on a stack of your cards and just wiping them all away is going to feel terrible, and it will happen at some point depending on what you have created. You just have to play the odds of when these detrimental cards come up and versus how often really beneficial cards come up, which I think by and large it's going to be weighted on the favor of the beneficial cards. You also have cards like MODOK or any discard synergy, which most decks running Sersi are not going to want to see, and then losing key cards in the middle of the matchup is going to feel awful. You have Electro popping out of a Mysterio clone, like we talked about, could be terrible, locking you into just playing one card. Havoc off of a 1-cost coming up and then consuming some of that max energy you thought you were going to be receiving. And then Wong is kind of a call out for any card that has a low base power and then a niche powerful ability that he's supposed to be generating his value from, but you just are not going to have synergies with. If I see Wong pop up and my deck doesn't have a lot of other on-reveal effects that are going to benefit from him, then I'm going to really wish that maybe the card hadn't transformed at all and I was just able to keep the base power from before. And then we have Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike is a specific call out here because it's a chance for the opponent to leverage control against us and wipe away a lot of the junk that we might be trying to use Sersi to transform. If Lady Deathstrike comes in and wipes out the Void, the Hood, the Debris, the Illusion from Mysterio, this is terrible for us if we're playing Sersi onto that lane. It's kind of telegraphed if you're running Sersi in this junk deck and want to transform this lane of all your dud cards, and that deck specifically, as we dig into the matchup, is often throwing initiative because you've played so much negative power on your side of the board that Lady Deathstrike is all but assured to go first and then clear that side of your location before Sersi has a chance to give you the benefit from having seeded all of those cards. So finally, here we are. What is the verdict? Is this Sersi going to be worth our hard-earned cash keys? I think she's going to be great. I think that anytime I have seen a card that's going to be able to slot into one of the hottest decks in the meta, which Junk currently is, the card has been successful on release. I am giving Sersi 3 keys out of 4, so that puts her just over the edge of what I would say is a buy. It means that if you're not super interested in this junk deck or a ramp deck, then she probably is a pass if you're more interested in other cards releasing later on in the season. If you are a specialist in those deck archetypes, you are surely going to want to pick her up. And in general, if you're just interested in playing the more powerful cards, I think she is going to be worth the keys for you. This burst of transforming the Void is so captivating to me. I can't wait to see what kind of chaos ensues. And I think that she has enough flexibility as a power upgrader in a number of different situations to give her more viability outside of just the junk deck to really make her worth having in your deck building collection. Let's hop over and see some of the decks that I have set up for day 1 to be able to start testing her, and then I'm sure that we're going to be able to refine things. And what's amazing about Sersi is that she is this Pandora's box for a really clever deck builder to potentially hone in on transformations to specific cost points when you know that you can access extra synergies. I just think that potential, even though I haven't had an epiphany moment yet, the fact that that is there is really tantalizing for and advantageous for wanting to pick Sersi up. This deck I am kind of considering my no-brainer out of this set. You have the junk Mockingbird shell here, and I'm really just plugging Sersi into the spot that Lady Deathstrike had been in, and I can't wait to see what is going to happen. I'm currently using Pixie and Mobius at the center to be able to give me that extra energy shot to surprise my opponents on the ranked ladder, but those are definitely flex slots. So is Nico. I feel like the rest of this deck is fairly core. You've got the Hood, Sentry, White Widow, Annihilus package, and now we're using Debris, Mysterio, and Mockingbird to be able to really kind of burst a lot of power. Also create more tokens for the Sersi to be able to transform. Could you squeeze Sasquatch in here if you're running Mysterio and Mockingbird? Yes, that's a very strong synergy as well, but then you're going to be looking at making cuts elsewhere, and I am really happy with this package as it sits right now. So it's awesome with the flexibility to be able to adapt to your meta pocket, but I do think that this deck could immediately find success with Sersi, game plan being to either set up your junk in one lane for Annihilus to throw across and then just block your opponent from playing there, or be able to capitalize with the Sersi and then suddenly burst of power out of what had been a negative, surprise them, and then roll off of that with the Mockingbird, which should be heavily discounted. Beautiful things are going to happen. Next up is the ramp synergy, tag teaming with Blink as a way to be able to remove Electro and painlessly advance into playing your more powerful cards. Here we are really focused on token generation and repeat on reveal effects through the Odin, White Tiger, Dr. Doom, Jubilee Leader package. And this, I think, we might want to wait until we get Arishem to really see how awesome it could become, because Sersi onto a leader, when you know that leader is then going to upgrade into a 7 power elemental fantastic monster, would be pretty cool. It would be pretty cool. Now it's going to be fairly niche. In most cases, you're trying to play Sersi before you get to your 6 costs, and then once you have access to your 6 costs, you just play them instead, which is totally fine. But here with the Jubilee, White Tiger, Electro, and the Psylocke, I'm opting for Psylocke instead of Wave. I think that's just going to be a little bit better for how the deck wants to curve out, but all of those are amazing targets for both Sersi and Blink. And between those two, maybe this gives us the consistency of seeing a ramp list really come to the forefront in the meta again. Sandman is really powerful in the current meta. I think a lot of decks are trying to play combos of cards, and he's been able to lock that down and control matchups and metas in the past. This could be a chance for ramp to be able to rise up again. Really fun, really straightforward deck that keeps on delivering season after season. So there is our breakdown of Sersi. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to the channel. Be right back here next week when we break down the next card releasing. And if I missed anything on the analysis of Sersi's friends, traps, enemies, you have to let me know down in the comments below. Love talking everything Snap with you guys. And we will be testing Sersi live, of course, on release, streaming on this channel and on Twitch at TeddyNinja15. Until next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.